And just like that, we have all of our pieces needed for the first 4 pages of our Batman Tumbler. Let's go ahead and take this guy here. This is our first piece. Now what we're going to be doing with this first piece is kind of doing a gradient bend. Let's go ahead and start with this right here. We're going to just do a small little guy like this. And then this one actually comes back like that. Okay, so we got something like this. Actually, this one goes like this, and then this one goes back. Now this guy at the top is going to go flat. Okay, so you should have something like this. Okay, be careful here. There is a little bend there. I actually may have bent this just a little bit like that. Okay, I think that is the proper bend. We'll know though a little bit later on because of how everything works. Okay, so now we're going to take this piece here and place it down. One thing we could have done actually before we dived into bending this piece is actually attach these smaller details over here. You can see how tiny this little guy is. And what we're going to do is we're going to get right here on the angle. You can see there's actually a little triangle right here. That little triangle, we're going to bend it to match the side. Okay, so we're going to take it like this, bend it, and you can see how like there's a little match there. So we're going to try to match that. Okay, just like that. Same thing on this side. Bend her down. Okay, now we're going to take this little detail here and we're going to attach it onto our first part. Sometimes if you pre-bend the tabs just a little bit, it makes it easier to do this. Okay, there we go. Now to secure these tabs, normally I have my tab securement tool, but unfortunately I kind of lost it in the move. So right now I'm going to do a little twist like this and a little twist like that, and we got our first guy done. That's awesome. Now if you notice in the instructions, it says to actually do a little twist on both sides, and that's what we've done. This is the best way to secure these. Always look for the triangles and circles. Sometimes we can go against them, but for the most part you really do want to follow through with what they say. Now we're going to grab this guy here, do the same thing. Okay, pretty simple stuff. Let's go ahead and clean up that little piece. Normally I like to have these clean before I actually attach them together, but sometimes I can mess up there. There we go. Now that we got these two guys in there, we can work on the sides. That's going to be with these two pieces. And it looks like there's a subtle bend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start it just like that. Very subtle, nothing too big, nothing too crazy. I just want to start it to see if that's going to work or not. Now there's a little piece here on top that we're going to have to bend as well. Let's see here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attach this first one just to kind of keep me in there, and then I'm going to work on getting these guys in place now. I was a little bit off on my forming, it looks like, but nothing too crazy. And actually, this goes on the outside. I thought it went on the inside, so there we go. We'll correct that. Now, it's just a matter of getting you in place, sir. There we go. Make sure that my parts match. There we go. All right, let's grab this. And we're gonna just push her down. Same thing with this one here. I really am missing my tab bending tool, but you know, it is what it is. There we go. Cool. Love that layered detail look. Now we're gonna do the same thing with the other side here. And we know this time that this one gets bent outward, just like that. Grab this guy here. I am pushing the parts together as I'm securing them. That's to get the best securement possible. Let's grab this guy here on the top, just like that. Awesome. And one more here on the bottom by the nose, or what I'm calling the nose at the moment. There we go. And now it's just a matter of bending this little triangle inward to match the other one. Excellent. That looks awesome. And now we move on to our next step. Okay, here are all our pieces here. Now the first thing we're going to do is create our cone pieces, and that's going to go on the inside of our detail here. Then we'll create our wheel. Okay, now when it comes to these cone shapes, I already messed up once. That's why it's a little choppy, probably between the last cut and this cut here. What we want to do is we want to make sure that the engraved side is on the inside of our cone and the non-engraved side is on the outside of our cone. Guess what I did? Yep. Anyway, the best way to make a cone is to take one of our little tools here, or a spoon, or whatever you have, and just kind of trace along the outside. By doing this, we get a really nice cone shape, and that's just by dragging the tool around. I've been asked before, what is this little background here? And that, my friends, is a giant mouse pad. The reason why I like the mouse pad is because it has a little bit of springiness in it, which allows me to be able to bend my pieces into the table and get a really nice shape. Now I'm going to just work this around, and I'm not going to actually cap it just yet. We're actually going to work on connecting the ribbon first, because that's easier to do. So we're just going to pull this back a little bit. I don't want to do it too much because, like I said, I accidentally already bent this piece, and so it's a little weaker than it should be. Now I'm going to just work this around, and there we go. I'm going to get to my little tab here, and this is the part I'm a little worried about because it is the part that was bent before. So we're going to bend this a little more, and then we're going to take this guy here. We're going to just do a little couple of bends there so we don't accidentally create a flat piece, which looks like I already did by accident. Whoopsie. And we're going to just connect these guys together. Now they're connected together. You probably can't see that, but I am just doing a flat little flush bend there. And now we can worry about getting these guys into their place. Now we might have to warp or bend this just a little bit to get it to go where we want it to go. Let's give it a little bit of a push. There we go. Awesome, we got it. And now we're gonna secure these bad boys here on top, just like that. Okay, now we can come back in here and take a look on the inside. We do got a little bit of a misshaping there, but we can kind of work that like by pressing it, just like this. There we go. All right, that looks great. Now we can come back over to our wheel piece here, and we're going to attach these guys. Now, personally, I like to line up my pieces so that all the different pieces here actually kind of mesh together well. But this one here already decides it for us, because if you can see, these ones here are smaller than the other side. So we're going to bring this guy in like this, and we're going to get one tab in place, just like that. And we're going to get the other one in place by just... You know what? Let's actually work around the clock. So right away, what I'm noticing is that we need to pre-bend our tabs here. So like I said earlier, if we take our tabs and just bend them a little bit forward, take your tabs, bend them a little bit forward, take your tabs again here, same thing all the way around. Now we should be able to get these guys in place. Now, if you notice, I did leave one undone. There's a reason for that. I'm going to show you that right now. That straight one goes in first. Okay? And because that one has a slight offset than the others, this should allow for most of these to fall into place. Oops, I accidentally got that one on the top done first. I think these are actually slightly bent in. And I think because of that, it actually will be easier if I go ahead on this side to just kind of slightly do it that way, rather than trying to work against myself. I think that's what's making this so difficult right now. So let me do this like this. Yeah, see, if I make a cone, they go back in so much easier. So these are slightly bent. I did see that in the plans. I just didn't know if it actually was meant to do that or not. So let's just do that. So far, I have to say, you know, a lot of people have been saying that the metal here has changed. And it does feel a little bit easier to bend, but it also feels a little bit more forgiving than past kits. I am finding it easy to scratch the metal, as you can see right here, but outside of that, it really isn't that bad. Okay, there we go. Our first side's done. Now, before we go back to the other side here, let's go ahead and do a little bit of prep work. There we go. Now be careful, you don't want to move around these guys too much, especially those wheels there. Once you're putting these guys in place, if you move them around too much, you might actually bend or break the wheels here. So just be mindful of that. And there we go. Now we're going to come back to this side. What we're going to do is we're going to create a nice little run here. Now the way that I'm going to do this is just like we've done before. We're going to take this guy here and we're just going to do some rolls. Okay. And actually we can even do, typically what I should have done, and what I'll do for my next one is I'll do a little run like this on either side, and that will actually create a really awesome wheel. But because I can't really do that because of how I've already put those details in place because I'm a silly goose, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to carefully make my circle the old-fashioned way, which is not with tools but with just tweezers. Now for anyone out there who has never actually done a circle with metal, basically what this involves is a bunch of small micro bends, and this is kind of a classic thing I say a lot here on the channel. Micro bends are the way to do this. So let's go ahead and bring this in. Again, doing lots of micro bends here, and I'm going back across the metal to make my life a little easier. Again, coming back up here, and I'm just going to put those tabs in there like this. I'm going to bend this forward. That way I get as much of a tab through as possible, and then I'm going to secure the tabs by just doing kind of a flick of the wrist like this, just a little flick. Okay, there we go. Got a pretty good circle there. That's not too bad. And what we'll do now is we can correct it by closing these guys down. So there we go. One. Did I get that one right there? Looks like I didn't. So I'll grab that guy there. Two. One more right there. 3, 4. And we'll push a little bit more in there. There we go. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other side. 1. Actually, before we do that with the other side, what we're going to do is we're going to secure the next piece in. We're going to keep that open because we don't want to, again, we don't want to break any pieces. We're going to get down to this guy right here. This guy right here is going to be formed by kind of matching up the sides. And if we turn this over, you can kind of see what I mean here. We're going to go right to this little line and we're going to bend it just like this. And do the same thing with the other side. Going to grab it right at the line there and make sure we're right on it because we don't want to go over it. And we're going to bend it down just like that. Okay? Now we're kind of lined up, but we're going to take this little tail piece and we're going to get right to that little edge, and then we're going to go right to the edge again, and we're going to slightly push it down. Now, the reason why we haven't completely 90-degreed these bends just yet is because we need to kind of get these guys in place. And the way that I like to do that is by opening it up like this, and then you start with the back tabs, and you get an idea of where we're going to be bending everything here. So let's just do this. Okay. Other side. Just like that. And now we're going to line this up and get these guys in place too. So here we go. 1, and there we go. 2. Awesome. Just like that. Super easy stuff. We're reaching on the inside there to just secure the tab nice and flat. Same thing on this side. Reaching in, and now we've secured it nice and flat. And we got something that looks like this. What we need to do is actually put this inside of our wheel here, and that's going to go like this. Now you can look at it here and see what you need to do. Okay, now what I'm going to do is really try to make sure these are secured correctly. So I'm going to use these tweezers here and just get a really nice twist on them. Same thing like this. Really good twist. No movement. Awesome. Now that we got that, we can close this guy up here and we're going to get a nice forming. I'm going to really try to make this wheel look pretty. I'm hoping to get a really nice looking Batmobile. This is my first dive into these kinds of builds. I actually built a Batmobile one time before. It was the classic Batmobile. I did it for my dad, big Batman guy, so He still has it, I believe. It was on his desk for the longest time. I think these are great gifts, especially for people out there that maybe can't build them. If you're going to build them and then give them away, I think it's a great idea, especially if you know that they're a fan of something. With Metal Earth having so many different kinds of kits out there, Batman is not the only one. And that's why it's taken me actually so long to get to these. It's not that I'm not a huge fan of Batman. I do like Batman. It's just there's just so many different models to build, guys. There's so many models to build. And there we go. We got our first little wheel here. I'm not super excited about how this is sticking out, and I don't like how that's not flush, but we will get that all sorted out before the end. That is our first wheel piece, though, looking pretty good. Let's move on to the next piece here, which, guess what, is another wheel. So instead of just like recording the whole thing again, let's go ahead and fast forward to where I have both of them complete.